Alrighty, so I wanted to get you guys another video to make sure that we get our crab further along. So at this point, like I said, we really just kind of, particularly if you watch that first video for blocking in, right? We deleted half the model, kind of put an edge down the center, deleted half of it, and then we just made sure to add some modifiers, like the mirror modifier and even the subdivision surface modifier. Usually we do the mirror modifier first, make sure clipping's on. Remember, you always want to hit these little kind of triangles right there, right? Because that kind of shows it in the edit mode. Actually, if you kind of hover over it enough, it should tell you adjust edit cage to modify result. So it kind of shows it fully through when you're doing edit mode stuff. So that's why it's always a good idea to kind of turn those on for whatever modifier you have on it. And of course, we added the subdivision surface modifier as well. And that's what gives us our nice rounded crab. Now remember, of course, if you don't like that faceted shading, 4, of course, is object mode, right? And they're right there. And to make sure the object's selected, you can always right-click, all right? And then you can just shade smooth, right? Shade flat, looks like that. Right-click, shade smooth. So remember, when you right-click, whenever you have something selected, if you right-click, it brings up the context menu, right? So right-clicking brings up the things you can do to objects, right? So if I hit, say, 3 again, right? 3 is our quick key for face edit mode, right? So technically there is just one quick key for edit mode 1, but technically 1, 2, and 3 take you into edit mode, and they just do the different versions of it, vertex, edge, or face, right? But they are right here. There are these little pull down menus. But they're great quick keys for it, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm definitely a fan of the quick keys instead of going to menus. So what I want to do is I just want to do a little more modeling for kind of finishing up the week, because we'll probably end up doing a little bit more modeling on this guy next week. But I wanted to ease this in and give you guys enough time to kind of get legs and some antenna and a mouth on this guy, which we're going to do here in a minute, and just get used to some of the major tools, right? So in this case, I really feel like I could use an extra edge loop through here, right? I really kind of don't want a giant mega antenna coming out of here. So I really feel like one more edge loop through here could be useful. Now remember, if we are in the modeling tab, right, we'll always see some of our big modeling tools right here. There's extrude, there's loop cut. They do come with quick keys, and of course, if you right click, you'll see that there's your extrude stuff there, and things like that, right? So in this case, I want to add an edge loop. Remember, it is this one right here, but the quick key for it is Alt-C. And you'll notice, particularly since I uploaded that concept video for you, and I'll just briefly mention here again. Remember, an edge loop is always being put in perpendicular, right, to the edge you're over. So if I'm over this edge right here, it's going to want to put an edge loop in perpendicular to there. If I'm over this edge right here, or this one, it's going to want to put it perpendicular to there. So always keep in mind that. And also, we could see that it really likes quads, because remember in that concepts video I posted recently, it's always looking for the opposite edge, right? So this is the edge we're going to put it on, but it's looking for that parallel opposite edge over, right? And a triangle doesn't have any opposite edges, right? It only has connecting edges. And an n-gon, which is a polygon with 5 or more vertices, is going to have at least 2 edges that aren't touching the original edge. And so you'll find your loop cut will not work on a model with lots of triangles in those areas, or with n-gons, right? So once again, one of the main reasons why we really like quads is because things like loop cut, loop selecting work quite reliably with it. So remember, this loop cut works in 2 different ways, right? If you just left click, it's going to put it right in the middle, right? So if I just left click, it just puts it right in the middle by default. I'm going to hit Control Z for undo. Remember, edit menu, undo, Control Z. But if you hold down left mouse button and drag, you'll see how it slides it, right? So once you get used to how the loop cut works in Blender, it works quite nicely, right? By default, it always snaps to the middle, but then if you just left-click drag, you can drag it. Now, as long as the loop cut tool is still on, right, and that edge loop is still selected, you'll notice down here, and you guys don't even have to do this, right? I'm just pointing this out as available to you. You don't have to use this. If you open this up, you'll see there's this little kind of menu you can click on here. And it has options, right? So you can have it do more than one cut, right? You can have it slide along the surface an exact number, right? So we could always kind of say, hey, let's do this at 0.3. So it puts it over there. 0.8. 0.8. We'll put it kind of even closer in, right? So keep in mind that you actually have this little factor thing that you can use to kind of control the position for it, right? So some neat little options in there for you if you want to adjust it. You can tell them to be even. There's even this smoothness option, right? And you can kind of do it by small increments. You can type a number in, but if you left click drag, you see how it's kind of like a push or a pull in. And so you can kind of adjust how the loop cut goes in curvature wise. Like I said, you don't even have to access this, right? I just want to make sure you guys see that there's actually some options available to you for the loop cut if you want to use them. In this case, I really just wanted kind of a main edge loop in there, right? But I just want to make sure you guys know that once you put it in, as long as it's still the active tool, this option is available. And you'll see it down here. You'll see it says loop cut and slide. The moment I say hit Q, you'll see how it's and click off of it. You see how that's not available anymore. So you do kind of have to do that right then. But now we have this extra geometry here. Now remember, you can always select it and hit W for move. Middle mouse button is a great way to do this because it's view move. But remember, you can always grab the handles, right? Any one of these handles will do it. But you also have the tweak tool as well, right? It's one of the options right up here. So if you hold down left mouse button on your selection box tool, right? Q is the quick key for it. Q will even toggle this, right? If you keep hitting Q, it toggles through these different options, which is kind of neat. And you'll see that there's a couple of different selection types, right? There's the box select, which is the one where you can just easily single click, right? Left click, or you could left click drag, and it gives you that box, and whatever that box touches, it selects, right? There is, of course, lasso select, which is a version of that, except it does a lasso shape instead of a box. There is the circle select, which is, it usually has a radius of 25, so you'll see like a little circle around it. You can leave it that way, but you can also just turn the radius down to 1. And this drag select, right, circle select, is just like Maya's drag select from some of you guys that know Maya from last year. And all you have to do is just left click drag your cursor, right? So you just hold down your left mouse button to move your cursor around, and it selects those things. So those are all neat. But remember, there is the tweak one as well, right? And the tweak one is really cool because you can left click drag at the same time. So it's actually your move tool and your selection tool at the same time. And so you don't have to use this, but you might find it's really cool and really quick way to quickly adjust the shape. So you see how I'm kind of really adjusting this shape nice and quickly and easily, right? And it works with whatever selection type you're in, right? Right now I'm in edge mode, but I could switch to face or vertex and it will work. Obviously, just regular W for move and selecting it will work. And you can grab the handles or just middle mouse button to view move it. But you'll see as you kind of go along that if you're doing lots of little tweaks, particularly for something like organic, like a character creature, you might find your tweak tool is one of your best friends. And I love it. I actually have it on all the time. Remember, you can actually set any of these tools to a quick key also. If it's the active tool here and you right click on it, you can actually go assign shortcut. And you can actually assign it to whatever shortcut you want, right? In this case, I'm in the modeling viewport, so if I wanted to, I could just click on spacebar. And now you'll see, even if I'm back there, I tap spacebar and my tweak tool's on. And then I just hit Q and it goes back to the regular box selection. So that's how easy it is to assign some of your own quick keys. I can left click drag in here and I can go to select circle. And now that's the available one. Right click on it. So you just right click on the tool and assign shortcut, right? And then you just hit on the keyboard. And I could say tab because that's what this was in drag, right? In Maya's, tab was drag select. So if I hit tab, drag select's just on. So that's really cool, right? So keep that in mind. You actually have the ability to assign quick keys that easily. You don't have to, right? But the more you want to customize this, the more you're going to want to have some of your own cool shortcuts instead of always having to go into menus, right? So just kind of remind you guys about how easy it is to add an edge loop wherever you need it for more detail. In this case, I wanted kind of one down here. Remember, if you're in edge mode, which is 2, if you double left click, right, double left click, so just click twice with your left mouse button on an edge, remember it selects an edge loop, right? And it'll select the edge loop in kind of whatever direction it goes. So there we go, we can select those. And if we wanted to, we could still adjust to make shapes, right? So what I wanted to do now is I wanted to extrude an antenna off. So I'm going to hit 3 for faces, right? 3 for faces. Because in general, we don't want to extrude non-border edges. Some of my students from last year will remember this, and we'll be doing it more again this year, of course, not on this guy. So right now, the only thing you should ever extrude in Blender is faces, right? As polygons. If you extrude a regular edge like these, it'll create non-manifold geometry, which is weird, and we'll talk about that more later on. Don't really have to worry about it right now. So I'm in face selection mode. Remember, that's quick key 3. And then, of course, I can click on this face, and I can easily just extrude it. Now, remember, this whole left menu has a lot of your major tools, right? There's extrude, inset. We're going to see inset later on. Bevel, we'll see, not really on this model. Loop cut, even your more manual knife tools there. We're not going to need that right now either, so we'll probably be sticking to mostly selection tools, move, rotate, and scale, and things like extrude. Remember, if you right-click, you have options there. Many extrude options, insets there as well. So remember that stuff. But we want to extrude. Now, by default, the quick key for extrude is Control E, right? Particularly when you have industry compatible on. So in this case, I could turn the button on here, extrude. And remember, there are 2 handles it comes with. This one right here is going to extrude along the average normal direction, right? So that'll push it straight out kind of along its local, right? But this guy on the outside is your view extrude, which also is just your middle mouse button. So that's how easy it is to extrude, right? E for rotate. And in this case, view rotate's going to be fine, so middle mouse button, right? Because remember, middle mouse button default does your view move, your view rotate, and your uniform scale. That which means it's going to scale all 3 axes at the same time, so it's truly scaling instead of stretching it in one direction. So I can hit R for scale, middle mouse button. You see how it kind of makes the whole thing smaller. And then I can just do Control E for extrusion again, middle mouse button. And you see how we can kind of get ourselves a little bit of an antenna here. E for rotate, sorry. W for move to move it up a little bit. Control E for extrusion. E for rotate. Middle mouse button to that view rotate. Remember, you can, of course, grab the handles. You can even grab in the center to kind of do like a full trackball one. But you might find that you're going to like the view rotate a lot. So I just use a lot of middle mouse button to do view rotates. And now you see we have an antenna out. Now, at this point, I probably want to do a little bit of shaping. So I can hit 2 for edge mode, right? And once there, I can tap spacebar, because that's what I set my quick key for the tweak tool, right? But it is your own kind of tool that you can set up, right? You can always kind of left click here, grab it. And I can just go in here and I can just tweak these edges, right? And this is going to allow me to quickly and easily kind of play with the shape for this. So the tweak tool can be a great and really, really awesome shaping tool, right? Now, one of the neat other quick keys that we have available to us here, so I can hit 3 to go to face mode, and you see my tweak tool still on. So your tweak tool won't turn off when you switch to selection mode, which when you get actually used to that in Blender, it's actually really, really cool. So you see I can just come in here and I can slowly do some neat little tweaks to my antenna to get a little more of the shape I want, right? 2 for edge mode, and I can kind of bring that in a little bit. Now we kind of have a little bit of an antenna here. One of the cool things also is that you have F, right? There's a frame selection key. So if you go to view, you'll actually see that there is something called frame selected, which is F, and frame all, which is A. So you actually, whatever was the last thing you clicked on, right? Even if you were tweaking it, when you hit F, it'll actually zoom in on that, which is also really cool, right? So whatever you have selected actively, or even what was last selected with the tweak tool, F will work on that, right? A will fit all, F will fit selected. So you can easily just kind of, tweak some edges here, and then hit F, and it kind of zooms your camera in on that. And then what I want to do here really quickly is I just want to go to 3 for face mode, select that face. And I'm going to hit Control E for extrusion, extrude a little bit. R for scale, scale this in a lot, not too much though. Control E for extrusion, middle mouse button, bring it in. And you see we can start to create a mouth. And of course I could switch back to my tweak tool, which in this case you see I kind of assigned it to the spacebar quick key, which I think is actually really, really cool. And we can start to get a basic mouth for this guy. Now, in this case, you'll see this pattern works well. It actually makes sense. Kind of a mouth or an eye is kind of a hole where other stuff goes at, right? Your teeth, your esophagus, your eyeball is going to go there. So extrusions, believe it or not, are actually great at making the proper structures for eyes and mouths. They're radial patterns. That means they're patterns that go around in a circle. So you see if I wanted to add a loop cut here, I can, and it goes around here because opposite edge is here, right? And then opposite edge is here and here, and so it wraps around. But you'll notice that all I really did was just some loop cutting, right? Good old loop cut, and some extruding, right? So that's all I really did there to kind of modify my crab a little bit. And I showed you how to assign some quick keys, so if you find that it might be kind of neat to set up a space bar for your tweak tool, right? That way you can quickly and easily drop in and do some neat little adjustments. And you see now our crab kind of has some little antenna and a mouth. And that's a great place to end that video.